Hey guys, I wanted to show you how I organize my brush pens and lettering supplies, and I really didn't try to clean up that much just so that you could see how I actually have things organized on a daily basis. I straightened up a little bit, but for the most part this is how my brush pens look every day. So I'm going to just go through how I store them. Now, the most important thing, if you take away anything from this video, is that in general, you should store your brush pens horizontally, so laying down flat like they are on the right over here. Okay, so laying down flat like this rather than standing upright like we have over here. I'll talk about that when we get here. But when in doubt, store them laying flat like this. Okay, so just to kind of go through, I have mine, I originally had all of mine separated by color, and I still have some of them over here, which I'll talk about later. But now I have them separated by brand. I just feel like I am more likely to use them by brand together than by color for the work that I do. So this is a paper organizer that I got from IKEA, and actually these shelves are supposed to be the other way so that this tab kind of holds the paper in, but I want to be able to take things out easily, so I just flipped these upside down. And you can pull these out, which is great. So starting from the top, actually just up here tucked in between, like on the top here, I have my Marvy Color In brush pens in this pack. They didn't all come in this pack, but I shoved them in there so they could fit, and so I could easily just take this out. Here I have my Zig Futubiores, and I actually don't have that many of these, so they're just kind of sitting here, and if I need them, I grab them. In this little box, I have my, let's see if I pull this shelf out. So right now I have my Pentel Fude sign pens, and then underneath I just have some, whoops, I just dropped all of these. I'll pick that up later. So underneath I have just some other black brush pens. So I have my Kelly Creates brush pens, and then some zebra pens on the left. So that's where I keep these, just in this little box. So you'll notice that some of them I do keep in their original packaging, like this one, and the Pentels that just fell on the floor. I guess only a couple of them fell. And then some of them I moved to a different container, like this little box, or I just have them floating out here. Okay, this next shelf are Ecoline brush pens. So this is the, I think it's called the Bright Pack, and then this was the Pastel Pack and the Colorless Blender. So I keep these in their packaging just so that they don't fly around, but they're pretty easy to grab. Then I have my Tombow Funosuke. Sometimes I put these up here, but I usually just keep them in their packaging until I need them. These are the metallic Karen brush markers, so it's really nice that they come in this case. And these metallic ones do need to be stored horizontally, so the pens are laying down flat inside. The non-metallic ones, actually, they say to store them upright, vertically, so I have those over here. Then I have my Artline sticks, just sort of floating out here. I don't really use them that much. Artist Loft, I separated into colors that I use and colors that I don't use, so this pack contains colors that I pretty much use, and I keep them in this packaging on this shelf. These are Sharpie brush pens that I keep in their packaging. Then down here I have Zig Brushables, again in their package. Faber-Castell. These I bought individually, so they didn't come in any package, but I'll probably just take these out of this plastic just so I can get to them easier. Okay, so that's this top shelf here. And then moving down, I have some non-brush pens, but some ones that I use semi-frequently. So these are the Tombow Twin Tone. They have a thick side, and they're monoline, like a bullet tip fine liner pen. It's thick on one side and thinner on the other. And then I have some white gel pens and microns and sparkle gel pens in here. And then underneath is where I have my paper organized. So I like probably 95% of the time just use marker paper. It's great for tracing because it's pretty transparent, and so putting on top of guidelines, and it's nice and smooth so it won't ruin your brush pens. And then I have some other paper down here that I can easily just grab. So over here, so this is how I originally stored my brush pens when I started years ago, and I pretty much only had Tombows. I had the Koi coloring brush. Now these, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to store these horizontally, but I've had them upright since before I knew that you were supposed to do that, and I don't really use them that often, so I just kept them with their colors. But I would probably recommend storing those flat. However, the Tombow dual brush pens, the manufacturer says that you can store these upright. In fact, when they sell the whole set, they come in a stand that they're all standing up like this, not like this, because of the way that they've pressurized the ink inside. It's supposed to be fine for the brush pens to sit like that. So that's how I have my Tombows, and then these are the Karen brush marker. If you have the full set, they also come in a stand that is upright. So they have liquid ink inside, which is part of the reason why you want to store them upright. So if you're ever confused, I would say store it horizontally unless either you read the directions and the manufacturer says to specifically store them upright, or if you buy them in a store and you see the way that they're displayed, like for example, these at Michael's are sitting on shelves horizontally like this. And so they're gonna store them at the store the same way that you should store them at home. So that can be another thing you can think about. Okay, and then down here in this drawer, I just have some other pens and brush pens that I don't really use that often. These are the rest of the Artist Loft colors that I don't really use, but I still store them horizontally. So even though this package is like upright like this, all of the pens are still flat. So store those there. Some other pens. These are Crayola brush pens that I don't love, but I keep them anyway, and I just keep them in that drawer. So that is how I store all of my brush pens and most used supplies for lettering.